Okay, we continue by having the mirror of the other side. This line, I'm going to mirror to the other side, put it right on, and I will just make the split of these two sections, also this one, and I'm just going to make, sorry, I will use these arc shapes to be construction, time to construction, which I have seen here. The next thing, what I need is, I have an 8 millimeter in thickness cylindrical part, having the 4 millimeter and 11.2 millimeter. I will decide this time how many millimeters I should have to go inside. For this one, I will just, finish my sketch. I have the extra tool. I will use this section to inside or outside, or with an asymmetrical view here. Here we have 11.2 millimeters. This time I will use this section, as you see here. Also, I would like to keep the inside. I have this one because I need that section as well. Also, for the other side, we have a 4 millimeter for other side thickness, which is this one. I have first figure. To use this one, I will just make it visible. I have the extrude tool this time. I will use this extrusion to be with a 7.2 millimeter in thickness. As you see, we have 4 millimeter left for the 4 millimeter portion of this part on the other side. For this one, I need a sectional rectangular section on the top side. For this, I need to start a new sketch. This time I will just hide my body part and grab the geometry with the project geometry, which is seen here. I will just, okay, again, I have forgotten one line. You can also use that line by connecting the line portion of that side. I will use the visibility tool, have the extrusion tool. This time I have a 2.3 millimeter thickness on the top side. Okay. What I need is here. I will just hide shape sketched, and I would like to have visibilities, the same ratchet part as usual. The next portion we have standard millimetric part. For this the cover part, I'm going to just design, say the part 5 level. This is a very easy part. Creating a sketch on XY plane. For this, I need sometimes a little axis line. We have two curves here. One bigger curve, the one smaller curve, and these curves, the arc shapes are connected with two lines. So here I will just make an arc shape and trim the unnecessary parts for this one. And I need a new rectangle to inside. I will just give the dimension what I have seen in the technical drawing. We have 1.5 to this side. We have the axis distance, which is 12. We have the rectangle dimensions, which is 6.5. It is 6.5. The 3 millimeter thickness. Okay, finished my sketch. I have a 2 millimeter in thickness in sideways. For here, I will just change my view. You can just keep as the mid plane if you want. So for this, you have to use the symmetrical extrusion tool. I will change the distance with to, let's say, make up again. The next part we have the cover part. Again, it's white plane. I will use visibility, it's white plane. Again, the same thing. This time I will just create an axis line and choose this point, the point which is in this point as a center origin point, which I have seen here. I'll create a base, a new line. I will just convert these two lines to construction, make this line passing through the origin point, and make a new point, coincident, a new point, origin point. We have a line for holes. Also make this line midpoint coincident to this line. This is also a construction line. We have a thickness here, which is 19, and we have a distance to 12. As you see, we have also have again two circles by connecting with two lines. I will use two line tools, and I will just make the two tangents. These two circles to each other, make the trims, and fill up unwanted parts. I will just make the trims as much as I can. Okay, here we go. Here, three circles to see. If you want, you can also use the circles for purposes. We have 18, I'm sorry. I haven't fixed this line. So that's more like that. We have again the line between these two points, it is 19 also. This point, this line, which is 19, and we have a dimension for 8 millimeter, which you have seen here. We have another point which is 14 here. We have a dimension with a radius 42 here. We have a dimension here which is 11. As you see, dimension here we have 19, and this is moving actually. To prevent this one, we have a line with 19 millimeter and make this line midpoint coincident of this line to prevent this dimension. I'm not going to use these holes because I will use a hole tool with a full thread feature. I will just finish my sketch. I have a 3 millimeter in thickness. I will also use these two circles because I will just make these circles with a hole tool. Fill it with 3 millimeters. You can just use this time to have the whole feature, to see this tools, to see the sketch points for making the whole purposes. I will just make my extrusion to one direction and the inside of our XY plane till to the back side, or the back, not the front side, to the back side of our part here from this view. Here, what I'm going to do is I will just create two holes on these 2 points, and this will be a threaded hole with a normal, without a contour bolt, spot face or contour bolt options. I will use my metric profile this because we have a metric tool here, and our metric size thread is 3 millimeters with a true all distance, so properties, with a full depth property for the threaded section. As you see, I will just close the visibilities of our figure. I will just save my part file, which is 4 with a cover. Next thing, we have a compression spring. So, a new standard part. The drawing length, it is given as 3.2 millimeters. The free length is 6.5 millimeters, which tells you that if you just, we are going to just model of the drawing of our part with a free length. In the drawing, we are going to make a 3.2 inches. We have a coil sizes, and I will just make the counts of these coils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 half on each side. I will just make a spring here, the wire diameter. The wire diameter is 0.2 millimeters, and the axis line is here. I will start from this point, the free length. This is my origin point, and I will just like to keep the center line. Properties this line. We have a coil profile, which is this one. It is 6.75. Sorry, I will just enter 3.76 millimeters. I'm going to use. This is my construction line. I will use this intersection point, which is my wire diameter is 0.2 millimeters. I have many coils so far. I have just counted with 7 tools, and the free length, the dimensional length of here is 3.2 millimeters. Here, finish my sketch. If you want, you can also just use the coil tool as you wish. You can just use this axis. We have a profile, the coil size. We have many options here. The revolve, you can have 7 or 6. That's called 18. And our height is 3.2. The coil length natural flat. If you want, you can use the flat tool to have these one, or you can have these, all the features here. We have a flat here made to see that if we can just make a cut here, I will just use the plane tools. I will just create another plane from this point, which is 3.2 millimeters, and I will make the split. This time I will split the trim the solid by using this split tool. I will use this tool to keep this side. I'm sorry. Just use edit feature, change the removal side. Here I have a spring at this point. Also, I'm going to use the same split tool, trim the solid. This time I use this plane, and I will just cover this tool to be covered here. I will just create and hide the visibilities of our plane. The first thing, in the future, I will need some flat surfaces for mounting purposes, and also I need an axis made the made condition of our axis. For this reason, I will just open the y-axis only for mating purposes. I will just save my part with 7, 8, I'm sorry. This is my 8-part compression spring. Which is this one. Also, I need 2 more parts, which I have previously mentioned about this one. The ball and the pin diameters. The ball is part 6. I will just create a new part file. For this one, I will change the name of our part 6. with the ball 4 millimeter dia. For the season, I will just use the visibility stuff in the sketch on this one plane. I will just create a new circle, make this circle a line which will pass through the origin point. I will just make trim and make this one the dimension, the diameter, which is 4 millimeters. I will use this cross profile to be revolved around this axis, get a ball at this point. Save and change the material to steel. You can use the tool for appearance. You can use any tool if you want. So what I need is the next thing. I will save this part file. The next part we have a pin, and we are going to just make the assembly in the second section. This is the part 8. I'm sorry, part 7, the pin with dash diameter, which is 4 millimeter, x, which is x 2.5 millimeter. I will use the sketch tool. This is a very easy part for this reason. I'm not going to work on the axis properties and also other things. What I need is 4 millimeter, the diameter here, the extrusion to keep the XY plane purposes for symmetrical one. The dimension here is 2.5. I may need for sectional. This is the also a steel part. I will just change the name to steel, the material to steel. We can also change the appearance. From the appearance tool, we have just say properties. Use. I have saved, completed all the files. We can just pass to the assembly mounting here. For here, it's a very easy assembly actually, but for the pin and I'm sorry, ball and spring constant, spring mountings, we will just make the groups one by one. For this one, I will just open a standard millimetric assembly side. I will save this as ratchet wrench. Place from the place menu, I will just use this one, all the parts that I have so far created. I just bring all the parts to here. And the first part, what I bring is the body part, and I will make it grounded. This is very important. Otherwise, you can just change the part visibilities. I will just use the view tool with the shaded with edges to see the sharp edges of the connections. Here what I'm going to do is I will just use for appearance tool, I will use close the origin extra visibilities. How that one save all the files for here. I will change the appearance to say magenta, let's say cyan. I'm sorry, appearance cyan. Yes. This is the let's say the lead here. So we have some boxes. Okay. The next thing, what I'm going to do is I will just use my phone. So because I think the geometry here, the appearance here, we have this part with a smooth. For this, I will just change it to red again to see better. Okay, anyway, I will just combine everything. For this, before mounting these parts, I will change the geometries. If you want, you can also change your view as you see now in the distributed assembly here. Here, what I'm going to do is I will use this one. As you see, the other side we have this one. I will free rotate to other side to for mounting purposes. As you see, I will move this part as well. I have the cover part, the level part on the other side. We have two ball. We have the Control C, Control V, two copies about this one. Also, I will use these parts to mount on this gear set, gear part. For this, I will just first make the parts here. Again, I will use made part condition by having this one. I have just chosen a midpoint here. You can also create a tangent condition to this part, to inside or outside. You will just see that as it is. So it is tangent to it. You can also just copy this one as well for the other side. Okay, I will ignore this one and just mount it on the gear set. You can also use this. I will use the constraint tool, have this axis to inside and take it out from this part. Here, what I'm going to do is I will use this axis for mounting this time. As you see, we have out here. Okay, next thing, what we have here is I will just keep grounded for mounting purposes only. I will use this part. Also, this pin to this side. Okay, next thing, mounting. This is the part for here. I think I have a mistake. And I will use this one. For this, I will use engine tool again. Purposes, I will use the engine surface this edge. Just this one. Also, we have some dimensional tools on the other side. So we can just create. I will just define the XY plane, scroll here, plane, which is basically this one. This one actually is better to use it for half section view. As you see, we have the half section view. I will just make mount on the back side of our feature. I will just make constraint to this one. I will change the dimension tool here. This is in 5mm because I'm just going to change those. Open the part. First of all, I'm going to change the diameter, then the dimension. Finally, I'm sorry. First, I'm going to change the dimension, Then the file name, save as pin dial. This time it is not 4, it is 5 to 2.5. I will change this one. Also, this one I will just close. Yes, as you see, it is changing, but I will just replace this component on the folder which I'm working. I will change the font to different. I just made a mistake. And the usual style, I will just like keep the bottom face of this gear sit on this body part. I will make a constraint. Use this face for mounting on the other face around. And I will just type the key. Yes, actually I have grounded for mounting purposes. For this, again, made the against condition, the mode condition. I'll just keep this one. As you see here, they have been turned together with all the parts here. Just the next part, we have a ratchet part. I have a constraint this axis to this axis, as you see here, and I will make this part on this side, so the other side as well. Start the ball and the spring condition just works on this side. I will just make a sectional cut up to this point. As you see, you will see I will just make a half section cut here a little bit inside. The point here to show you better. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. In section, first of all, I will just create an axis made with the let's use this time. Again, the view with our section here inside. See what I'm doing here. You see part spring on the other part, the ball part is on this point. The direction is different. I have just used this compression spring made here, as you see. This time I will edit this one. This is the align, this is the opposed. I will change this dimension to this side. Here, what I need is, if this is the open one, we have a spring loader, and this time when I use Amsolar, which is this time, when the spring loaded just stops this one, it stops the ratchet down. When we have pushed one around, it will just push this spring and the ball inside. We have a picking block about this one. We have a picking block about this one. We have the lever inside on the back side of our branch body, and this is spring load. What I need is I will just make this one tangent deleted and take it out here. As you see, we have just made the spring this point at this point. Yes, we can change this one. This stuff. So we have tangent condition, which is this one. This one. On the other side, as you see, when I move this one, we just go inside. As you see, we just come and go back. this one side and just rotate secure side. Just make it constraint, touch the face with the engine condition. This face to be engine with this face. Next thing, we have a ratchet on the other side. I have the whole section with an end section view. I will just cover, put the cover on the back side. Here's this one. Or you can just check from the condition if our parts are part and use this point. So see, it is just mounted just on me. I have a seat at this point on this face together. Here, what I have is this one. Again, this face is on the back side of our face here, as you see. I will just make the back side of our part from this face to the back side of our face. What I do is I just make this one here. Yes, this is the part that I have modeled so far. Let's save to. Now I can use my parts. In line part, I will use the library to place from contents until we have two parts. And from the fastener feature, you can also use the search tool with the standard number. I'm just going to search 10, 642. I'll use this time, this tool, 10, 642. This is the part number. You can use both of them. I will use this one and change the size to metric 3 millimeter and with a 16 millimeter in length. I will use two of it and make mount on the other side. For this reason, I will just rotate these two figures, these two parts around this axis freely. Then I will just make, I will use open, close the resolution smart line, save tool, and use the make tool for this axis, surface to surface. I'm going to use for making this assembly condition. This face to be on this face need to be aligned. Also, this face and this face want to be aligned again. This is the assembly for part. We also have exploder view. As you see here, what I'm going to do is I will just put a new exploder view with standard pneumatic. I will use the part of our ratchet wrench. And from here, what I'm going to do is I will just tweak the components. First, I should have to use these two items to be taken out from our assembly to open the cover of our part. For this, I have a storyboard, as you see. When I take the cover around, I will also take this one, or I will use this one. Also, I can just freely take everything, the ratchet and the other components together from outside. Also, I can take, I have just forgotten these two parts. I am very sorry about this issue. I will select two parts and deselect. I will select two parts and deselect this part. I will use the control button to select to deselect three components from these points and body parts. As you see, we have a pin outside. I will just take this pin. As you see, I will use the principal axis. After taking out this pin, I can just freely take out the ball and this pin outside. The parts that I'm responsible about this one. I have decided what I'm going to do is I will just create everything inside two components. This time I'm not going to use the local to world component here. World axis and take it out. This is the soluble about parts here. I will just take this out of the movie to show you, to show someone for how we are going to make the assemble and disassemble of our project. We can also take the iPad without it. We can also save this video with the camera options, with capturing the camera options. But what I need is, I will just take a snapshot. This to use in the assembly drawing here. I need to create a view here. I will just right click delete the zoom out option. One view will be enough for the section. I will say my part file, Ratchet Crunch. Yes, this is the body part. What I'm going to do is I will just continue with the technical drawing part later in another video.